She believed he was just a loner, then she discovers he's the hotel's secret billionaire. It was a typical rainy Tuesday in the heart of downtown, but something electrifying buzzed through the air like an untethered bolt of lightning. Inside the stately Oak Ridge Hotel, whispers floated around the grand lobby like lost ghosts. No one could quite place their finger on it, but a strange tension hung heavy, urging guests to turn their heads, to lean in closer as if the secrets clinging to the velvet armchairs were just waiting to be unearthed. Amongst the shadows, she spotted him. A solitary figure huddled in a corner, his gaze fixed intently on a world that swirled around him without so much as a glance back. He always came at the same time, always dressed in the same heavy, seemingly outdated coat that looked like it swallowed him whole. The way he sat there, so still, lips pressed together as if savoring a bitter secret, made her heart race with intrigue. Who was this man that held the whole lobby under a spell? The rustic mahogany contrasted sharply with his pale, drawn features, making him appear almost ghost-like against the vibrant surroundings. The barista, a cheery college student named Mia, shared tight-lipped rumors with the patrons about the loner lurking around. Him. A billionaire? Eyes narrowed, she couldn't digest it. He looked just like every other lonely soul. Even the old-timers murmured, gesturing toward him with furrowed brows, their voices quivering under the burden of speculation. A shadow fell over the edge of the bar, and she felt compelled to approach him as if pulled by invisible strings, every heartbeat drumming louder in her ears. What kind of stories must he hold? The kind that dripped with chaos, heartbreak, and perhaps, fists of gold. She dreamt of fragility, bravery, and wild twists of fate. Just as her foot swept forward, she felt a chill. The lobby was suddenly quiet, as if every breath had been stolen. And then, a sharp burst of laughter rang out, a sudden reminder of the world losing its grip on the strange stillness. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With her heart pounding, she watched as his demeanor shifted, his eyes darting toward the exit just as the heavy door swung open wildly. An elegant woman glided in, her presence almost magnetic. A collective gasp spread like fire through the crowd, and her chest tightened as whispers morphed into gasps of disbelief. She leaned forward, desperate to hear every fragmented conversation blooming around her. What was happening? Who was the lady? Was he really just a loner? Or was he hiding a truth, deeper than anyone could fathom, a truth that could explode into chaos at any moment? For the first time, her curious heart waded into perilous waters, teetering at the edge of discovery. What would happen next? The woman glided across the lobby, her designer heels clicking sharply against the marble floor, a sound that shattered the tension like glass breaking. She was stunning, with an air of confidence that drew eyes and silenced whispers. For a moment, everything else faded. Mia, the barista, held her breath like everyone else, entranced by the scene unfolding before her. The man in the corner shifted, eyes widening. She noted the flicker of recognition that crossed his face, a storm cloud gathering in the depths of his pale eyes. Her heart twisted. Who was this woman? What could she possibly want with him? Mia leaned in, trying to catch bits of the conversation, but all she could discern were hushed exchanges and sharp intakes of breath punctuating the silence. Amelia, the woman said, her voice smooth like velvet, extending one elegant hand. I've been looking for you. Mia's pulse quickened. This wasn't just a casual meeting, this was a reckoning. The man's eyes darted back, an expression of both fear and a flicker of hope warred across his face. He didn't reach for her hand. Instead, he stiffened, every inch of him rigid like a marionette with its strings pulled tight. Why? What do you want? His voice was gravelly, threaded with an urgency that made Mia strain to hear it. Answers. You owe me that much, Amelia replied, the sweetness of her tone tinged with a razor's edge. Mia's breath caught. What was the connection here? Her instincts screamed at her to step closer, to unravel the tangle of their shared past. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, overlooking an unknown abyss. She edged around a nearby pillar, desperate for a clearer view without being noticed. Before she could process what she was witnessing, Amelia moved even closer to him, lowering her voice. You don't need to hide anymore. I know the truth. His face paled further, if possible. You shouldn't be here. They can't know. At that moment, a ripple of recognition washed over the crowd. Whispers erupted into a dull roar as several guests recognized the woman. Mia's heart sank. This was someone of importance, someone powerful. She felt the weight of the crowd's eyes on her, their curiosity mixed with suspicion and intrigue. Who is she? Someone whispered, breaking the spell. Is she a celebrity? Muttered another. Amelia flicked her gaze toward Mia, a brief, piercing look that seemed to see right through her. In that fleeting instant, Mia felt as if her very existence had been questioned. The world around them shrank, lost in the chaos of this revelation. Please, just talk to me, Amelia urged, her tone shifting from cold to pleading. Talk. He hissed, backing away, vulnerability dancing in his eyes. You don't know what you're asking. Mia's mind raced. What had she stumbled upon? Secrets were unearthing, and the connections linking them felt deeper than she could grasp. Just then, a heavy thud echoed through the lobby, punctuated by a sudden shout. The main doors burst open again, and a group of men in dark suits strode in, their faces stormy, driven by a purpose that sent a shiver through the crowd. Get her out of here. One of them shouted, and the room erupted into chaos. Mia's heart raced, her mind spinning as adrenaline surged. She had watched a mystery morph into something dangerous, something she couldn't turn back from. What did the men want? Why were they after Amelia? And more importantly, what did the loner have to do with it? As the crowd scattered, confusion reigning supreme, she felt a desperate need to uncover the truth clawing at her insides. This hotel, once a place of refuge, was transforming into a labyrinth filled with shadows and secrets. Mia bolted forward, intent on following the tangled threads because she needed to know, and it was clear that the closer she got, the more dangerous it became. But what she had yet to understand was how deep the rabbit hole really went, and what lay waiting at the bottom. Mia pushed through the throng of people rushing toward the exits, her instincts screaming for her to get closer, to learn more. She could barely hear the urgent chatter around her, punctuated by gasps and shouts. It all blurred into background noise as her eyes locked onto the confrontation unfolding at the center of the chaos. Amelia and the man. He had to be someone critical to this unraveling mess. The fear etched on his face fueled her determination. She maneuvered past a bewildered couple who clutched each other in confusion. In the heart of the mayhem, it was becoming increasingly difficult to separate friend from foe. Follow me. A voice shouted, grabbing her attention. One of the suited men, tall and imposing, beckoned toward Amelia. The urgency in his tone shot through the crowded lobby like a gunshot. Mia felt a pang of dread as she observed Amelia's fierce gaze harden into resolve. Not without him. Amelia barked, her indignation rising over the tumult. The man's eyes darted to the exits but then landed back on her, torn between fear for himself and a surprising loyalty to her. Mia felt something shift within her. This wasn't just a chance encounter, they were tied together by something unspeakable. She needed to know it all, but danger hung thick in the air. Suddenly, another shout rang through the hotel. She can't leave. Mia's heart thudded painfully in her chest. Who were these men? What did they want from Amelia? Tension simmered as one of the men raised a hand, signaling for the others to close in. Let us go. One of them urged, clearly frustrated at the delay. Amelia stood her ground, fierce and unyielding. Mia pressed herself closer, just a few feet away now. She felt every breath in her lungs growing heavy with apprehension. "Amelia! You don't need to do this." The man implored, his voice barely above a whisper, desperation lining his words. "You don't know what they're capable of." Amelia responded urgently, her tone softening just a fraction. Mia flinched. What was at stake? She could almost touch the thick silence enveloping their conversation, a curtain drawn by fear and uncertainty. Just then, more footsteps echoed through the lobby. A new figure emerged, another man in a suit, but he carried a cold air that cut through the uncertainty like a knife. His expression was grim, eyes narrowed, scanning the crowd with unsettling precision. "Secure the perimeter," he commanded sharply. His voice was authoritative, demand dripping from every syllable, and the suited men immediately fell into line. Mia's instincts screamed at her to flee, to escape the brewing storm. Yet, her curiosity anchored her, rendering her immobile. What was happening? A powerful game was unfolding, one where the stakes felt dangerously high. Amelia's eyes glinted with a mixture of rage and pain, and Mia wondered what fire lay behind those confident blue pools. What had this man taken from her? The ominous tension hung thick as the suited men positioned themselves like a line of sentinels, and Mia felt the crowd's collective breath hitch. She stumbled back a step, almost losing her footing. Then, the man in the corner, now visibly distressed, took a deep breath and gathered himself. "If they know the truth, it could ruin everything," he whispered to Amelia, his voice cracking with the weight of unspoken history. A rush of adrenaline coursed through Mia. What truth? The very essence of the room shifted, the atmosphere growing heavier and denser. Would she really discover what lay beneath the surface of their tangled lives? As Amelia turned towards her, a wild glimmer of recognition flashed across her face. In that momentary connection, Mia sensed an invitation. But just as the unsaid words hung on the edge of their lips, a low rumble of thunder echoed from the darkening skies outside, mirroring the brewing storm inside the hotel. Time felt suspended, and then it hit her, the realization that made her heart race. Amelia wasn't just seeking answers, she was running from something. With that understanding, the stakes escalated. Mia knew she had to make a choice: stay hidden and safe, or step into this chaos and uncover the truth that might change everything. But as the lobby doors slammed shut behind her, sealing off the outside world, the darkness spilled in. What had she just walked into? Could she trust Amelia, or would stepping into this shadowed realm become her own undoing? The room felt electric, charged with fear and uncertainty. Mia's pulse quickened as Amelia's fierce gaze bore into her, seeking an ally or a lifeline. Every second stretched painfully, an eternity encased in the clenched silence hung in the air, as the suited men took strategic positions, their expressions steely and resolute. "Amelia, please," the man pleaded, his voice strained. The tension in his shoulders spoke volumes. He was fighting a battle of his own yet remained tethered to her. "You don't understand," Amelia shot back, her voice a blend of desperation and fierce determination. "We can't leave him here. Not now." The air around Mia tightened, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Uninvited chills crept down her spine as the realization sunk in. The man they were protecting wasn't just a pawn, he was a player in a game much darker than she had ever anticipated. Was he a target, or was he the source of the danger? As the lobby's ambience shifted with the arrival of more suited figures, Mia felt a heavy dread settle in her stomach. Shadows lurked within the chaotic crowd, and she could sense the predatory focus of the men as they swept through the room, searching for something or someone. Then, amidst the growing tension, a loud crash rang out, followed by the shattering of glass. A scream echoed, piercing through the chaos, and the panic exploded outward. In an instant, people scrambled for the exits, their desperate movements sending a wave of fear cascading through the crowd. "Stay calm," a voice shouted, but it was drowned out in the din. Mia's heart raced. This was spiraling out of control. "Amelia!" Mia screamed, forcing her way to her friend's side. "What do we do? We need a plan." She could see the determination and resolve flickering in Amelia's eyes, yet there was something more, something edged with fear. Amelia's hand shot out, gripping Mia's wrist with a strength that surprised her. We find him. He's our only hope. There was no mistaking the urgency in her voice. If they're after him, they're after me too. You have to trust me. But before Mia could respond, the man Amelia was protecting broke free from the circle of intimidating men. His face was drawn, panic etched into his features as he shouted, "Run! Get out while you can!" Mia's heart sank. He was trapped in this mess just as much as they were. Before she could process the command, two of the suited men lunged toward him. Instinctively, Mia yanked Amelia, urging her toward the back door that led to the utility corridor. "Now, we need to go," she insisted, urgency rising in her voice. Amelia hesitated, torn between following Mia and the need to save the man whose name she didn't yet know. "We can't just leave him. He can't help us if he's caught. Please." Mia's fear was palpable, and with a quick nod, Amelia relented. They dashed away, bursting through the door just as chaos erupted behind them. The corridor was dimly lit, far from the chaos of the lobby, yet it felt almost more foreboding. The sounds of yelling and confusion faded as they pounded down the hallway. Mia glanced over her shoulder, fearing the worst, but the echoing chaos seemed to fade into the distance. "What now?" Amelia gasped, leaning against the wall, both of them panting for air. "Do you know where this leads?" Mia asked, her mind racing. Amelia shook her head, teetering between survival instinct and frantic worry. "There has to be a way out closer to the service area." Just as Amelia made to move, a door creaked open at the end of the hall, revealing a tall figure silhouetted against the faint glow. Mia's heart lurched. Was it friend or foe? "Who's there?" she called out, feeling the tension coil tighter than ever. The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face, a face she had seen only moments before in the lobby, caught between desperation and confidence. He was not just a suspect, he was the linchpin to this entire nightmare. "We need to hurry," he urged, his eyes darting anxiously. "They're coming after us." Mia and Amelia exchanged a glance, and in that brief moment, an unspoken understanding passed between them. There was no turning back now that as they edged closer, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed behind them, a warning bell of the impending storm. Would they find a way out, or would they be swallowed by the shadows creeping ever closer? In that moment, the labyrinthine halls became a battlefield of choices, and Mia realized the truth: every step forward could lead them deeper into danger or into the heart of something terrifying and true. Could she trust the man who seemed both savior and threat? The answer lay just ahead, and she knew they had to keep moving, but would they be fast enough to escape what was chasing them? The man's urgency snapped Mia back to reality. "We don't have time. Follow me." His voice was sharp, but there was an undercurrent of panic that set Mia on edge. They had no solid plan, just instinct propelling them forward. She glanced at Amelia, who nodded resolutely, determination brightening her fear-stricken face. The man led them to the right, down another dim hallway lined with fire exit signs that flickered like a fading pulse. The echo of hurried footsteps grew louder, a reminder of the lurking danger. Mia's heart raced, matching the rhythm of their desperate escape. There was no going back now. "Where are we headed?" she asked, her voice breathy. "To the delivery bay. The service elevator can take us to the basement, then we can find our way outside." "It's our best chance," he replied without looking back. Mia wanted to trust him. The way he moved spoke of confidence, yet she felt the weight of uncertainty wrapped around her mind like a tight coil. What secrets did he hold? The pounding of her heartbeat drummed out her doubts for the moment, pushing her feet to move faster. As they rounded another corner, the lights overhead flickered ominously, casting long shadows across the walls. Mia could feel the cold tendrils of fear clutching at her throat. The pounding of her pulse filled her ears, drowning out the distant chaos. But the sound of footsteps behind them cut through the noise, swift, determined. They weren't far behind. "Go. Get to the elevator," the man shouted, urgency flaring in his eyes. He turned back for a moment, his expression fierce. I'll hold them off. Don't look back. No. Amelia shouted, stepping forward, but Mia caught her arm. Panic surged within her like a wild beast, and she understood, in that moment, that they had to trust him if they were to survive. Amelia, we have to go. Mia said, her voice trembling. Dragging her friend forward, they sprinted down the corridor, the promise of escape urging them on despite the dread curling in their guts. The elevator loomed ahead, its metallic doors waiting like the entrance to salvation. Mia jabbed the button repeatedly, desperation bleeding into every frantic press. They had seconds, a fleeting chance to escape. Just as the doors began to slide open, the sound of shouts erupted behind them. The man's voice rang out in the echoing corridor, trying to buy them time. Get in. Now. Mia pulled Amelia through the doors, the shrill alarm of the elevator cutting through the tension like a blade. As the doors closed, she caught a glimpse of the suited men barreling down the hall, their expressions fierce and unyielding. The elevator began its descent, and Mia leaned against the cold metal wall, catching her breath. They were safe, for now, but how long could they stay ahead of what was hunting them? What do we do when we get out? Mia asked, eyes locked on the numbers above the door, wishing for them to change faster. We can't stop. We can't trust anyone outside either. Not yet, the man said, his voice low but tight with resolve. You have to tell me everything you know about why they want you. If we're going to survive, we need a plan. What do you mean why they want us? Mia shot back, confused. Because you're in the middle of something much bigger than you realize. It's not just me they're after. Mia's heart sank at the weight of his words. That ominous feeling returned, creeping back into her chest. Was Amelia right to believe this man, or was he leading them into deeper darkness? And just then, the elevator jerked to a stop, the lights flickering above. A sudden silence enveloped them, thick and oppressive, as fear wrapped its icy fingers around Mia's heart. What is happening? Amelia whispered, her voice barely above a breath. I don't know. The man's brow furrowed, and he stepped closer to the doors, listening, but Mia could see the tension in his shoulders. In that suffocating moment of stillness, a chilling thought crept into Mia's mind. What if their escape was already sabotaged? The elevator doors rattled slightly before swinging open, but they didn't reveal the outside world that Mia hoped for. Instead, they opened to a darkened hall that seemed to stretch indefinitely, echoes of whispers sending shivers crawling down her spine. Get ready, the man said, stepping out first, the line between ally and enemy teasing a brutal edge. As they left the elevator, the weight of their choice loomed heavy above them. Would they face the shadows lurking ahead, or was this the end of their escape? Mia's breath caught as something or someone moved in the shadow, a figure loomed against the darkness. The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Who had they just walked into? The darkness felt alive, a suffocating blanket wrapping around Mia and Amelia as the mysterious figure emerged from the shadows. Every instinct screamed at Mia to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. She glanced at Amelia, whose eyes were wide, reflecting a mix of fear and curiosity. Who are you? The man asked, his voice low and measured, breaking the silence like a sudden crack of thunder. Mia looked at the figure, trying to make sense of the fear lodged in her throat. He was tall, dressed casually in a black hoodie that obscured his features, but she could see his intense gaze fixed on them. The weight of his expression felt like a spotlight, unnerving and demanding answers. I'm Mia, and this is Amelia, she stammered, her heart racing. What do you want? The stranger chuckled softly, but it wasn't reassuring, it was the laugh of someone who had seen too much. What do I want? His voice dripped with an unsettling calmness that sent chills through her. Why are you here? Amelia blurted out, edging closer to Mia. The man took a step forward, and Mia braced herself, unsure if flight or confrontation was the better option. This place, it's not what it seems. You two need to understand that. The people after you. They've been tracking me too. We're all wrapped in this mess together. Mess? Mia said, a bitter sarcasm creeping into her voice. That's a hell of a way to describe being hunted. His lips curled into a wry smile. True enough. But maybe it's also an opportunity. Opportunity? Mia repeated, feeling the disbelief creeping in. You call this an opportunity? Think about it, Mia. His voice raised slightly, urgency seeping into his tone. You have knowledge that could turn this all upside down. They need you, both of you. And don't you want to know why? Amelia turned to Mia, her brow furrowing. What do we know? The man's eyes darted between them, evaluating. You were in that hotel incident, weren't you? The one that triggered this whole chase. Mia opened her mouth to protest, but the truth lingered like a bitter taste in her mouth. They had witnessed something that put them in danger. It clung to her, a shadow creeping closer. Listen, we can't stay here, he pressed, glancing up and down the corridor, clearly on edge. More will come, they want us all dead. If you trust me, follow me. Otherwise, it's only a matter of time. Trust was a fragile thing in moments like this. Mia's heart thudded, racing alongside the confusion and fear threatening to swallow her whole. They'd already staked their future on a stranger. But what choice did they have? Okay, she said finally, her voice steadying. Lead the way. The man turned and began walking, motioning for them to follow. As they moved deeper into the darkness, whispering shadows danced along the walls, creating flickering images that played tricks on her mind. Do you have a plan? Amelia asked, stepping closer to Mia. More like a hope, he replied, casting a glance back that felt both ominous and reassuring. But first, we need to find the exit and discover what they're really after. With each cautious step, Mia's thoughts raced. What had they stumbled into? And why did it feel like every decision they made pushed them deeper into a nightmare they couldn't wake from? The corridor opened up into a vast, empty lobby, the eerie quiet filled with the ticking of an unseen clock, each tick echoing louder in her mind. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind, and startled screams echoed through the hall with unsettling familiarity. What the hell was that? Amelia gasped, her voice high with panic. Mia leaned closer to the man, who seemed to freeze, listening with his body tense. It's time to move, he said, urgency cutting through the air. We need to stick together, no matter what. Before she could respond, the quiet shattered as figures darted from the shadows behind them, determined and swift. Fear surged, pairing with adrenaline, and Mia felt it ripple through every fiber of her being. As they sprinted toward the exit, the only thought that roared through Mia's mind was just how far they had fallen into this nightmare and how quickly it was closing in on them. With footsteps pounding behind them and the weight of uncertainty pressing harder, she realized one more thing: trust might just be the most dangerous gamble of all. Stay close. The man shouted, urgency threading through his every word. But as they bolted toward the brightly lit exit, a deeper mystery pulsed in the shadows. Who were they really running from, and what if their greatest danger wasn't behind them, but ahead? The adrenaline pumped through Mia's veins as they raced through the deserted lobby, the sounds of chaos echoing ominously in the distance. She could feel Amelia's breath quicken beside her, fear radiating from her friend like a beacon. In that moment, they were just two girls fighting against the inevitable, ready to do anything to survive. Where do you think you're going? The man leading them suddenly asked, his voice steady yet intense. He didn't stop, eyes locked ahead. There's no exit as it seems. Just a way deeper into this nightmare. What do you mean? Mia gasped, her pulse hammering in her ears. We can't just keep running. We have to. Just trust me. We need to regroup, he said, darting toward a side corridor that barely registered above their panic. Mia and Amelia exchanged glances, uncertainty blending with desperation. They had no choice but to follow. Footsteps echoed like thunder behind them, a relentless reminder of the threat hunting them. The corridor widened, and for a fleeting moment, Mia caught sight of a clock mounted on the wall, its hands frozen at 12. The image sent a shiver down her spine, but there was no time to ponder its meaning. They rounded another corner, and just as Mia thought they might find a moment to breathe, the thundering footsteps grew closer. "Run!" the man yelled, and they sprinted down the hall, the intensity of the chase electrifying the air around them. Suddenly, Amelia stumbled, her foot slipping on something slick on the floor. "Amelia!" Mia screamed, panic slicing through her. She felt the pull to stop, to help, but the instinct to survive clawed at her instead. Before she could react, the man was there, grabbing Amelia's arm and pulling her to her feet. "Keep moving!" he barked, urgency fueling his every syllable. They pressed forward, the shadows creeping closer with each heartbeat. Mia's thoughts raced. Who was this man? Why were they all being hunted? And what was in that hotel? What had they seen? "Right here!" he shouted suddenly, pushing through a pair of swinging doors that led into a poorly lit backroom filled with old furniture and stacks of forgotten boxes. It smelled like dust and decay. The door slammed shut behind them, and they stood panting, bracing themselves against the wall. "What now?" Amelia gasped, her eyes darting around, searching for answers, for security. The man was silent, tracing the outlines of the room with sharp, searching eyes. "We wait. They'll be looking for us in the lobby. If we can hold off just a little longer, we can slip away." Mia leaned against the wall, her heart pounding hard enough to feel it in her throat. "For how long?" "Long enough to figure out our next move," he replied. "We're not just running anymore. We need to plan." The room fell silent, the only sound their heavy breathing as they took a moment to collect themselves. Mia's mind raced, swirling with fear and confusion. Just how deep was this mess? What lay waiting behind those doorways they'd yet to explore? "Do you know how we got into this?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What triggered it all?" He hesitated, his eyes narrowing as if the weight of the truth pressed upon him. "You don't know the half of it. You two were caught up in something much bigger, and it's not just about you anymore." A chill crept down Mia's spine. Was she about to hear something that would change everything? But before he could respond, there was a loud bang, shaking the very walls of their hiding place. They exchanged horrified looks as the commotion erupted again. Stomping footsteps headed their way, more intense, more desperate. "What was that?" Amelia squeaked, her eyes wide with fear. "Time's up," he growled, moving swiftly to the door. "Get ready to run." Panic churned in Mia's stomach. This was no longer a mere chase, it was survival, and every moment offered another twist, another danger. As they braced themselves to flee, Mia's gut knotted tighter. What awaited them outside? Would they find refuge or deeper peril? With her heart pounding fiercely, she couldn't help but feel that the worst was yet to come. "Go!" he shouted, throwing the door open. Together, they sprinted into the unknown, where the shadows loomed larger, and danger lurked just beyond sight. What waited for them just outside those walls? And could they ever truly feel safe again? They surged into the hallway, the momentum of their escape propelling them forward. Mia led the way, heart hammering as the shadows morphed into dark figures in her mind. Fear wraps around her like a chokehold, every instinct screamed for her to run faster, to escape the unseen terror that throbbed behind them. Amelia's breath came in frantic gasps beside her, each exhale sounding like a warning bell. "Where do we go now?" she panted, her eyes darting desperately. "I don't know." Mia snapped, casting frantic glances left and right. The oppressive atmosphere made it feel like they were drowning in an ocean of uncertainty. The man pushed past them, muscles tense, shoulders squared. "There's a staircase at the end of the hall. It leads down to the basement." His voice carried an authority that felt both reassuring and haunting. They rounded the corner, and Mia felt her stomach drop. The end of the corridor gaped open, light spilling from the staircase below like a beacon. But just as hope flickered in her gut, that loud bang echoed again, sending ripples of terror through her veins. "It's them!" Amelia cried, her face pale with dread. "We have to hurry." Mia dashed forward, clutching the railing as they barreled down the stairs, urgency coursing through every step. The air felt heavier, as if the very building was holding its breath. Shadows lurked in the corners, twisting her thoughts into dark labyrinths. What were they up against? Were they just running into another trap? "Wait!" the man said abruptly, halting at the bottom of the stairs. "I can hear something." They paused, the silence thick enough to slice through. Mia strained to listen, that dreadful feeling crawling up her spine. Was it just her imagination, or were there whispers seeping through the walls, tangled with the sound of footsteps above? "It's coming from that door," he said, pointing to a heavy steel door at the far end of the basement hallway. Fear mingled with curiosity. "What's behind it?" Mia whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," the man admitted. "But if we're going to make it out of this, we need information. We can't keep running blindly." Mia bit her lip. Should they face the unknown, or continue fleeing? But she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay behind that door might offer the answers they desperately needed, even if those answers came with a heavy price. "Let us see," she finally said, a resolve settling into her bones. "We need to know what we're dealing with." As they approached the door, the whispers grew louder, tugging at the edges of her sanity. The man reached for the handle, glancing back at them, eyes narrowed. "Remember, whatever happens, stick together." "Yeah, right," Amelia said, a hint of sarcasm barely masking her anxiety. With a deep breath, he turned the handle, and the door creaked open with a low groan, revealing a darkened room beyond. The faint light from the hallway barely illuminated the space, but Mia could see cluttered boxes, old furniture, and something else. A shape moved inside. The shadows shifted, and a figure emerged, its features obscured but unmistakably human. In that moment, Mia's blood ran cold. "Who are you?" the figure asked, voice echoing in the hollow chamber. "What do you want?" Before they could respond, the sounds of footsteps rang out again, louder this time, and growing closer. Mia felt panic claw at her throat. Whatever was happening, whatever conspiracy was unfolding around them, it was about to descend upon them like a storm. "Get ready to fight or run," the man shouted, and just as the figure stepped fully into view, Mia's heart stopped. In a dizzying rush, she realized she recognized that face. The connection sent a jolt of disbelief through her body. Was it possible? Or was her mind playing tricks? As the room filled with tension, everything hung in the air, poised to explode. What secrets were they about to uncover? What would happen when the truth of this night shattered the darkness? The sound of impending chaos drew closer, and time felt like it wrapped around them, taut and ready to snap. They had no choice. They needed answers, and they needed them now. Mia inhaled sharply, the question searing through her: who exactly was their new ally? And was he the key to their survival, or another piece of a dangerous puzzle? The figure stepped into the flickering light, revealing a face so familiar it felt like a punch to the gut. Mia's mind raced. What was he doing here? She had seen him just weeks ago, a fleeting encounter in the lobby, but now he stood before her, eyes wide with shock, echoing her own disbelief. "Mason?" she whispered, her voice barely escaping her lips. The dim light caught the sharp angles of his jaw, and the familiar lift of his brows sent a shiver through her spine. It was real, he was truly here. "Mia? What are you doing here?" His tone shifted, a mix of concern and urgency. The moment stretched, filled with unspoken memories and the heavy weight of shared secrets that hung in the air between them. Before she could respond, another crash echoed above them, turning their attention back to the door. Old wood splintered as boots pounded against it. They had mere seconds before whatever was chasing them found them, and then it would be too late. "Everyone, out!" the man barked, pushing Mia and Amelia aside as he turned toward Mason. "We need to get you out of here." Now. But we can't leave, Mia objected, her heart racing. He knows something. I know that there's no time. We're in serious danger. Drawing in a deep breath, he motioned toward the back of the room. There's another way out. Mason's expression darkened, the flicker of recognition dawning in his eyes. I can help. I've been hiding down here, figuring out what's going on. He glanced nervously toward the door, the urgency palpable. But I don't know how long we have until they. A heavy silence fell. Mia could feel the crackle of fear intertwining with hope. The truth hung in the air, waiting like a grenade on the edge of detonation. Please. Tell us everything, Amelia urged, desperation leaking into her voice. Mason hesitated, glancing from Mia to the man. It's not just about running anymore. They know I'm here. They want something I have, something they think I've hidden. But I can't explain it all right now. Before he could continue, the door shuddered, splintering further as a heavy shoulder slammed against it. The group jumped at the sound, dread pooling in Mia's stomach. Fine, the man interrupted. We'll get out first, then you can explain on the way. Everyone move. Follow me. He turned, his body tense and ready. Mia felt a mix of fear and determination twist together. She had never been one to run from danger, and now with Mason here, everything shifted. Wait! She shouted as they moved toward the exit Mason indicated. What did you hide? But before he could reply, the door burst open, revealing dark figures silhouetted in the sharp light from the hallway. They moved quickly, with an unsettling fluidity that made Mia's stomach churn with recognition. Stay back! Mason yelled, stepping in front of them, arms raised. The confrontation solidified the danger. They weren't just escaping, they were facing something deeply sinister. Go! He shouted again, thrusting Mia toward the narrow passage at the back of the room. With every nerve alive, she stumbled forward. They bounded down the alternate exit, the sound of the footsteps behind them morphing to frantic shouts, boiling over into chaos. Mia shot one last look back at Mason, who now stood poised against the onslaught, but she couldn't falter. The path forward loomed ahead, challenging her to break free from the tangled mess they had been ensnared in. As the darkness enveloped them, the dim light of hope flickered in the distance. But could they really escape? And what awaited them at the end of this dark tunnel? Would answers bring clarity or only deeper complications? The further they ran, the more questions pressed against Mia's mind. Who truly was Mason? And why was everyone willing to fight for something that could turn out to be dangerous? The weight of unknown truths loomed heavily in her thoughts as they sprinted deeper into the unknown, shadows closing in around them. This night wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. What happens next could alter everything. Would they emerge as survivors, or victims? They scrambled down the passage, the air thick with a damp chill that clung to their skin. Fear clawed at Mia's insides as they raced away from the chaos left behind. Each echo of footsteps and distant shouts felt like an ominous countdown to catastrophe. Where does this lead? She pressed, glancing over her shoulder, the darkness swallowing the sounds of pursuit. To the loading dock. If we can reach the service entrance, we might be able to slip out unnoticed, the man said, urgency propelling his words. A flicker of hope ignited within her. Let us keep moving, Amelia urged, her voice firm despite the trembling beneath. As they rounded the next corner, the oppressive gloom lifted momentarily, revealing slender beams of light filtering through the cracks. But before they could breathe easy, a sharp shout rang out from behind, a voice Mia recognized as commanding and full of authority. Stop right there. They didn't pause. They couldn't afford to. A surge of adrenaline propelled them forward, and they barreled through another door that led into a dimly lit warehouse space. What now? Amelia gasped, eyes darting around as they frantically searched for an escape. There's a loading dock around back. The man urged, glancing around as if expecting danger to collide with them at any moment. A heavy thud reverberated through the structure, and the hollow clang sent a jolt of urgency pumping through their veins. We need to be quick. They sprinted deeper into the warehouse, weaving through shadowed stacks of crates that loomed like silent sentinels. Each step echoed with the possibility of being cornered, the shadows creeping closer. Who are those men? Mia finally managed to gasp, pushing through a stack of worn boxes. They're hired muscle. They want me because I've seen something I shouldn't have, the man admitted, his voice strained. And now they want you too, because you know too much. Those words hung in the air, thick and heavy. Mia's heart sank at the weight of that realization. What have we gotten ourselves into? She whispered, fear tangling with the uncertainty of their futures. The answers might lie through that door. He pointed toward a heavy metal exit, just beyond a wall of crates. Fumbling, Mia threw her shoulder against the weighty door. It creaked open, revealing the faint glow of the outside world, but freedom felt dangerously close yet so far away. Quick! They surged into the night, the cool air wrapping around them like a bomb. Safety was a heartbeat away, but not for long. A chorus of shouts erupted from inside the warehouse, echoing into the still night. Wait! Mason's voice pierced through her thoughts. We can't just run. We need to get somewhere safe and figure out our next move. But we can't stay. Amelia argued, her face twisted in anxiety. They'll find us. Suddenly, the realization hit Mia hard. These were not just ordinary enemies. If Mason was right, they wanted something powerful, something that could unravel their lives or bind them together in a web of darkness. Who are you, Mason? Why are they hunting us? Mia pressed, desperation spilling into her voice. I can explain everything. There's a safe house nearby. We have a friend there who knows about this, a friend who can help. Is he trustworthy? Amelia shot back, her voice shaky with doubt. Mason paused, eyes darkened with intensity. Yes, but time is against us. You need to trust me. The shouts inside the warehouse drew closer, the urgency electrifying the atmosphere. Let us go. Mia snapped, the warmth of determination washing over her. They ducked into the depth of the night, racing toward the flickering lights that signaled both hope and peril. As they sprinted towards uncertainty, Mia felt something shift within her. She no longer felt like a victim caught in a maze of lies and threats. No, she was taking charge of her fate, and that realization surged through her like fire. Over there. Mason pointed toward a narrow alleyway, changing their course. They maneuvered through the darkened path, hearts pounding, breaths fast and sharp. Why are you doing all of this? Mia blurted as they ran. The uncertainty pressed forward, wrapping around her like a dark shroud. Because I owe you both. You were caught in this, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect you, Mason replied, determination fueling his every stride. Just as they reached the alley's mouth, headlights pierced the darkness. Mia's heart sank yet again as a vehicle suddenly rounded the corner, blocking their path. Get down! Mason commanded, pulling them behind a dumpster just in time. They huddled close as the car rolled to a stop, the engine purring like a predator stalking its prey. Heavy footsteps echoed as men dressed in dark suits climbed out, their faces grim and serious. Search the area. One shouted, eyes scanning the shadows like a hawk. What do we do? Amelia whispered desperately, her body trembling against Mia's. We wait, Mason replied quietly, eyes narrow and focused. Just stay quiet. Tension hung thick in the air as they crouched in fear, the cold metal of the dumpster digging into Mia's back. Would they be discovered? The suited men moved closer, their voices low and grave, discussing what lay ahead. They can't have gone far, one muttered. We'll find them. Mia felt the weight of despair settle heavily in her chest. Suddenly, Mason shifted, glancing back toward the alley entrance. Now while they're distracted. He burst into action, pulling both girls along as they dashed toward the side of the building, hearts racing with hope mingled with terror. The men were still talking, still unaware. They plunged into another secluded corner, pressing against a chain-link fence that separated them from a nearby parking lot. Almost there, Mason muttered, his eyes gleaming with determination. But just as they were about to push through, a shout erupted from behind them. There they are. Run! A voice boomed as the men launched forward, fierce and relentless. Adrenaline flooded Mia's veins as they sprinted, the world around morphing into a blur of lights and shadows. Each step felt heavy yet invigorating, propelling them into the unknown fate awaiting them outside. Mason led the way, the parking lot growing closer with every heartbeat, the thrill of survival igniting a fire within her. They pushed through the narrow gap in the fence, stumbling into the lot as the men called after them, wrenching her fear into raw adrenaline. "Where's the car?" Amelia shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "There." Mason pointed. "Get in." They dashed toward an unassuming sedan, Mason yanking the door open and urging them inside. They piled in, adrenaline surging through their bodies as he started the engine, the car roaring to life beneath them. "Go, go!" Mia urged, heart pounding wildly. With a swift spin of the wheel, Mason shot them onto the road, the night air rushing in as freedom surged forward like a breath of fresh hope. As they sped away, the darkness behind them receding, the questions still loomed large. But in this moment, there was laughter, relief and joy bubbling within. They had escaped. But as they disappeared into the night, the uncertainty hung heavy in the air, the kind that hinted at lurking shadows, secrets yet to be unveiled, and the knowledge that the real battle was far from over. What awaited them in the morning light was unknown. "Thank you," Mia breathed to Mason, his eyes flicked toward her for just a fleeting moment before he focused back on the road, his expression solemn yet fierce. "Once we get to safety," he replied, "we'll figure this out together." Yes, together they would navigate this new labyrinth, a tapestry woven with unspeakable truths and hidden pasts. They would fight. And together, they would emerge, not just as survivors, but as warriors ready to confront whatever darkness lay fractured ahead. Now, before you click away, let me tell you something super important. You need to subscribe now. Hit that red button to stay updated on every twist and turn of this series. Smash the like button right now to help feed the algorithm so this story gets the attention it deserves. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comment section with your wild theories and reactions to this ending. What do you think will happen next? Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this thrilling conclusion. Your support means everything, so let us keep this adventure alive together.